guys, and welcome to another Casio Watches showcase video. Start things off as always. If you haven't joined us already over on Casio Watches Facebook group, please come and check us out. We're closing in, unbelievably, on 1,000 members, something which I'm really pleased about, and hopefully we can hit that in the coming weeks. I think we're around about 960 as I shoot this video, so come check us out on Facebook, Casio Watches. So today we're going to take a look at the retro geek classic Casio CA-53W, and those of you that have seen any of my showcase videos before, you know that I always like to start off by telling you where the watch has been featured in a film or in a TV program, or any celebrities that wear this particular watch. Now today we're not going to talk about one movie or celebrity or film, we're not going to talk about two, we're going to actually talk about 4 different examples where this watch, the Casio CA-53W calculator watch, has been worn in a movie or a TV series. So first and foremost, the most obvious one, lots of you will know this one, taking you back to 1985, the year of my birth, and the film Back to the Future. Now Marty McFly, played by Michael J. Fox, he wears this watch, and this is one of the reasons it's a cult classic in many ways. People want to have this watch on and remember that film and remember Marty McFly and pretend they're in that film and all of those sorts of things, and it takes them back to 1985. So that's the first one that I'll give you today, the most obvious one. Second one, another reason why this watch is just as popular now as it was in the 80s is because this watch was worn by Walter White on Breaking Bad, and again that fits his persona perfectly, the geeky scientist. He's got his retro geeky watch on there, this calculator watch, and he wears this in the movie, in the series of Breaking Bad. Third one I wanted to talk to you about was pointed out on my Casio Watches group, but I had in fact heard about this in the past. I think I'd forgotten about it, and that is that the calculator watch shown here is worn by the Joker in The Dark Knight in the bank robbery scene. So when Heath Ledger as the Joker is breaking into the bank and he's got his grey suit on and his over the top clown mask, you can see at times in those still shots that he's wearing this Casio CA-53W. And the fourth one, which is a real bonus spot, thanks to somebody from the Casio Watches group that pointed this out, we go back to the 80s again, and Miami Vice this time, the original Miami Vice series, not that load of rubbish that they did in more recent years. And Sonny Crockett, in one of the episodes, he's undercover as supposedly some nerdy, geeky tourist, and at one point in that undercover scene, you can see his wrist, and he's got this calculator watch on. So today, not one, not two, but 4 different examples of where this watch is featured in movies or in TV series. So let's move on then to the watch itself. The first thing I need to say about this watch, unbelievable. This is a watch that you can pick up for just £20, just slightly over £20 at the moment from amazon.co.uk. I picked this up last week. I think it was something like £21.40 at the time of purchase. Free shipping over £20. I actually picked up another Casio at the same time to make it worth my while. My wife actually bought it for me. She does all the Amazon orders. I'm more eBay and other things. So I picked this watch up for a shade over £20. So for £20 you can get a watch that is just as popular today as it was in the 80s when Don Johnson was wearing it as Sonny Crockett, or as Michael J. Fox was wearing it as Marty McFly, all the way through now to Breaking Bad, and obviously in 2020 it's still a really popular watch to have in your collection and to wear. Now what I will say about this watch, when I got it out the box when it arrived the other day, I was quite surprised at how small it was, but that's a good thing. So I thought if I just quickly place next to it the ever popular Casio F91W, this is my green variant here, you can see that it's longer than the F91W, but that's because it has all of the calculator buttons of it. Of course, has to house those somewhere, but it's still quite a small watch in comparison to most other Casio. So there's the F91W. If I put this 5510 G-Shock next to it, you can start to see, okay, we've obviously got a real wide G-Shock here on this G-Shock square, and I'll drop in the ever popular Mission Impossible watch as well, so we can start to see some sizes of the calculator watch. I'll put it on my wrist later so we can see how it looks on my 6 3/4 inch wrists. So as I've said, it's a very small watch, but it's incredibly comfortable to wear. The strap on this watch is one of the most comfortable Casios I've actually ever worn. Again, it's one of these rubbery resin type straps, but it seems very, very soft and very supple, and it really hugs your wrist, and it doesn't cut into your wrist like some of the Casio resin straps do. This is really comfortable, and I'll show you and talk more about the strap a little bit later on. So if we go to the screen first, one thing you'll notice if I hold the F91 back over here, you'll notice that the actual numbers, they're very small compared to even the F91. Okay, it's catching the light funny there, but very small numbers displayed on this screen here. One of the reasons for having such small numbers on display is because when you're in calculator mode, if you actually bother to do some addition or multiplication on it and you're getting large numbers, you want to be able to display a lot of digits on the screen. So that's obviously why they've gone for the smaller digits on the 53W compared to the regular Casio digital displays. So really clear screen though, does everything you need, it tells you the time. Notice in the corner here it just says the actual day of the week, Sunday. What you can do though is if you hold this top right hand button, which I'll press in a minute, and a shout out to a member of Casio Watches for pointing this out to me because I never bother reading any of the instruction manuals that come with my watches. If you hold the button in the corner like so, you can see that it flashes up the full date. And it's worth noting as well that because this is a Japanese watch, it says the year, then the month, and then the date. So be careful when you're setting the time when you get this watch that you don't do it the wrong way around, otherwise your days will be out. So a really clear screen, and if we go down to the buttons, really nice rubbery buttons. They are tiny, and this watch is more for show. Even though you can use it as a calculator, it's more for show really, but the buttons, nice rubbery grip to them, tiny, and then just underneath and next to each button you've got what that button does and the different features for it. So nice and clear on the display, and nice and clear in terms of the buttons for operating the watch itself. Now, as I mentioned before, the strap on this watch, if I just roll it around a bit, okay, it's got some nice detail to it, as you can see. Got these little gaps in here to allow your wrist to breathe. So if you get hot, sweaty or anything in there, any dust or any water, your wrist can breathe. And then you've got the little indentations on the sides and underneath here. And again, if I flick it round, you can see on the black buckle, Casio is displayed. A really comfortable strap, a really nice quality little strap on this watch. There we go, put it back on the stand. Now, in terms of the functions and the modes that this watch has, I'll cycle through them in a moment, but there's only 2 buttons on this watch. We've got the button that sticks out here, which takes you through the different modes, and then this one here, which is sunk in to the case itself. This is the one that you press to adjust the watch. So for example, adjusting the time. So if I press through the different modes, so we're on obviously the time screen, and then press this, and we go into calculator mode, press it again into the alarm, and then press it through here and back into stopwatch and into the time screen. Now, what I will say is when you go into the time setting mode, I'm not going to press it now, but if you go into set the time, most Casio watches you cycle up or down through the hours, minutes, the date. What's quite cool on this watch is when you set the time on it, rather than scrolling through the numbers, you actually type the numbers in. So for example, when you get this watch, if you need to change it to 12:34, you'd actually press in 1, 2, and then 3, 4, etc. And it's the same for changing the date. So if I also scroll through into the calculator function, okay, and again you can see why we have these smaller digits to allow more digits to fit onto the screen. The calculator works, it does the job it needs to. I wouldn't suggest that you try and calculate your tax returns on it or anything like that. This is just as a novelty, but if you need to do a quick calculation when you're at the shops, or if you're working on something and you need to do a calculation to work out how many tiles you're going to need to tile the bathroom floor, anything simple like that, then this watch and the calculator on this watch will do that job for you, of course. So just to test it out while we've got the camera on, I'll try and do 6, oh no, press the one there, 3. So I'm trying to do it with my thumb, and because the buttons are so small, it makes it very tricky. So 3 times 4 and then equals 12. So there we go, proof that the calculator works just fine for simple calculations and simple tasks. And also, if like me, if you had a watch like this or something similar, or just a normal calculator when you were back at primary school and secondary school, you can of course write your rude words upside down on the screen like most of us used to do, and I certainly used to do when I was at school. So you can have a go at doing that as well to your heart's content. Now, taking it back into the time mode, and I must say, when I go through the modes here, you obviously know what this particular screen means. I can't recall what it means. I don't know what it means. Pop in the comments what this particular screen displays and what's different about it. Obviously it's showing the same time. I believe off the top of my head it is a dual time, but again I don't use that, so please correct me if I'm wrong in the comments below. And back to the home screen there. Now there is some water resistance on this watch, as you can see displayed up here. It's water resistant, but again it's more likely just for getting it wet if you're washing up or you're out in the rain or you have a shower. I wouldn't suggest that you go deep sea diving in this watch. It's probably very unlikely that you do anyway. There are some people on the Casio watches group who say that they or their dad or somebody in their family has had this watch for many years and it's withstood up to daily use. Again, just like all Casios, even though it's not a G-Shock, you can abuse this watch and it will keep going, and the battery life will last for a very long time, which is always pretty much a guarantee with any Casio. So I think what I'll do now is I'll pop it onto my wrist. As always, a reminder that I have quite slim wrists, 6 3/4 inches, and this watch fits perfectly onto my wrist size. So quickly pop it on. And there we go. Now, as I said earlier on in the video, one of the most comfortable rubber resin straps of any of the Casios that I currently own. You can see, nice fit around my wrist, really comfortable. I wore this the other day when it was really warm over here, really sunny, and even though I was getting warm and sweating a little bit, this watch didn't rub on my wrist. This breathable strap really did its job, and I wore it all day without any issue. Got it wet when we were playing in the garden in the paddling pool, wiped it down, no problem. One of my daughters actually spilt orange juice over it the first time I wore it, which was the second day that I'd owned it, which obviously didn't impress me too much, but managed to wipe all that off. So this watch is not only water resistant, it's orange juice resistant as well, which is a bonus when you have children. So you can see, really smart fit on my wrist, nice flat profile to it. I'm going to take it back off again to end the video and just show you some of the dimensions. So you can see, if I hold it here, really slim profile to the watch, beautiful shape. You can see why it's such a popular piece, such a classic retro watch. Again, £20 that you can pick this up for, brand new. Okay, and if I just show you the profile of this watch against the F91W, very similar, slightly thinner, slightly flatter than the 91W. And then if we go back to my 5510 again, just grab this one at random out of the G-Shocks that I have. Again, you can see much slimmer, as you would expect, than this G-Shock. Now, I did say in my last video that my next video on here would be a showcase of, well, a comparison of a genuine A168W compared to a fake A168W. Unfortunately, one of those watches seems to have been lost in the post. It's been nearly 2.5 weeks now and it hasn't turned up, so I'm chasing that up and hopefully it will arrive sometime this week, and then I can do that comparison video because a few people have asked to see that because I think it would be quite useful, as do I. So as always, if you have this watch, drop a comment in the box below, or if you intend to get this watch for the great price that you can pick it up for at the moment, let me know as well. If you haven't done so and you use Facebook, come and check us out on the Casio Watches group. And as always, drop a subscription, drop a like, and hopefully I will see you all next time. So take care and see you all soon.